What is up, everybody? I'm the one and only Bobby D, and we're here to do a Critique Revolve summer movie preview. In the studio, I have a full house. I have Michael.
Hello.
I have David.
Hello.
And I have Thomas.
Hello.
All right, so we are coming up on the summer movie season. Technically, I believe we've already started. Seems that it's one of those things. It's almost like Halloween and Christmas, to where everything gets pushed back months and months and months. I think Memorial Day was usually the official kickoff of summer movie season, but I think we're already into it, and I wanted to take some time and get together and see what we thought the summer was going to look like.
Like a flip of a coin.
A flip. Do you really believe it's a flip of a coin at this point, or are we banking on what has worked in the past? Because if you look at everything that we have this summer, we've all seen it before.
Yes.
It's all very familiar, and that's what summer should be. Because, I mean, you look at it, we're getting our
tentpole films, right?
Yes.
That's usually the defining trait of
Yeah.
tentpole films.
Tempo films.
We have our, let's just go with Jurassic Park. We have our third version of Jurassic Park. There's only been one good one. But does anybody care? It's still going to make $500 million.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those
I
where
hear
like
Thomas's soul died.
yeah, all the time. It's one of those where it's like I don't necessarily. It's one of those where I don't know if it'll be make money or be good. I feel like only one of those.
When is the
will
last
happen.
good Jurassic Park?
93.
Okay. When's the last one that made money?
Yesterday. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I didn't see that one, but that's what I'm saying. It made money, but it's not good. I feel like a lot of these movies are going to fall into one of two categories. Either it'll be good, but it won't make what it needs to, or it'll make a shitload, and everyone's like, that was trash, but it made a fuckload of money. Like Jurassic Park is a good example of that second category.
Well, I only bring up Jurassic Park. It's because it's one of those things. I only remember the first one, and I only remember the really bad one.
Yes.
You know, the cloning of the baby at the end of it.
Whatever, dude. I love that movie.
You love that one?
That's the only one I liked. The
Are you
second
serious?
cycle.
But the thing is like the execution, though, Mike. It was the execution of that. I'm sorry.
It certainly was the execution of Jurassic Park, in my opinion.
Obviously not, because we got another one.
Zombies are real. That's what
Well, and I think that's what we're getting at with this summer, is that we have what we are familiar with, and I think that's going to bring people back to the movies. And like Mike said, that's what we need for these tentpole movies, is every week something else has to come up. You know, we see the same thing. Mission Impossible are all amazing movies, but I couldn't tell you the plot line of 90% of them. I remember watching them, being excited and wanting to see the next one, but I don't know what's going on. But that's something that's going to come out. It's going to make its money. You know, you have one of your bona fide stars, Tom Cruise, going into something because he's one of the few that
can make money.
That are truly left.
He's a last name.
Yeah. You know, and we're dealing with a 70-year-old man that wants to jump out of an airplane with a camera strapped to his chest. Cool, let's go. But this is what I'm getting at, is like, where are we at now with the movie industry? And I know you guys just did your whole show right before I got in here about this, but this is where we're at. Like, do we have an expectation of a true billion-dollar box office, or is that gone now?
I think this will be the summer that does bring back big box office receipts. I don't know if this will be a true return to form in the way of content, but in terms of money, there are some really big headliners. This is the most filled summer that we've had with these types of films, which I'm sure you're going to get to in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be 10 years.
Well, yeah.
I have not seen this many tentpole films pushed into the summer months for a very long time. It's got to be 10 years.
Well, that's the thing, is like this particular year, that's the only reason why I could see it being a return to form when it comes to summer blockbuster films, is because they didn't just load the gun with 6 bullets. They have 60 bullets that they're trying to actually make sure we need to make the box office matter again.
The studios know that if they don't make it work, that they may not have another chance to
Yeah.
do right, because these studios are falling apart at the seams, are being torn apart at the seams.
Like cotton candy in a glass of
Because
water.
they're not.
So there, when you look at the tentpole films for this year, there obviously is a strategy for these studios. They're like, okay, we need to start putting these big films. We need to start marketing them correctly. All of them are being marketed,
Yes.
more than films have been. That's a complaint we've had in the past,
Yeah.
that there just seems to be no marketing either until the last minute. You see, 2 weeks before a big movie comes out, there's this race to the finish line of marketing.
Well, and you're right, because you're seeing the marketing. You're like, oh my God, they made Stitch spam. I'm like, am I eating Stitch now? Like, you're seeing stuff that
Probably
is
tastes alien.
that is out there, that you are seeing the marketing. Whether, like, I'm gonna keep on the Lilo and Stitch. I don't know if you saw, but they started planting Stitches in the movie theaters that were popping up to scare
Yes.
people.
Oh yeah.
You know, and riding around on cars, and they're doing a lot of the promotion that we haven't seen before. And I wonder how much of this is it a recovery of the movie, or are we actually recovering from the COVID era, to where we were getting Wonder Woman 84 Doritos 2 years before the actual movie came out, because they had the promotion with Doritos to send it out.
I
Well-
think COVID is definitely a logical assumption that has a lot to do with it, and that we're just getting back on track. The last 5 years have been all a byproduct of COVID, to a degree, as well as the fires and protests and the political environment,
The
strikes.
the
Yes,
strike.
Yes, strike.
But I forgot what I was saying. What am I, Thomas now? what were you just saying?
About the
Jesus.
promotion recovering from COVID. Like, are we back? Or are we just are we back to where we were so many years ago at this point, to where the studios have had the time to put together these movies? We've had the time to get it promoted in the right way. We are getting there. And
Streaming is what I was going to say.
okay,
I think COVID had a large part to do with that, but also streaming in conjunction with COVID. So streaming, a lot of these studios thought that the streaming platform is going to be what saves their bottom line.
Yeah.
They
Mistakenly.
were willing to put $200 million films on their streaming service,
Mulan.
thinking they were going to make some returns. So that was another big problem. That there was a shift towards putting large budget films that shouldn't be on streaming exclusively on streaming. And now they're pulling back. They're not, many of these studios have all agreed that the days of making original big budget films are at an end for streaming, that they
Yeah.
need to put them back into the theater.
Well, the other, we talked about before, it's stupid as fuck and only shooting yourself in the foot to have a movie come out in theaters and then within like 30, 60 days, it's available on streaming.
The window, the window has been constrained.
What made people go to the movies, at least, back in my day when I was a kid, was you had to go to the theater to see
like
it.
10 years ago, 5 years
Right.
ago.
You had to go back into the theater to see it, or if you missed it in theaters, you had to wait months for it to come
You'd
out on
hope it
DVD.
went to the dollar theater.
If you were lucky, it did.
Yes.
Yeah, you're like,
Otherwise-
fuck, it's still at the dollar theater. Let's go to the dollar theater.
Otherwise, you're waiting months to get it on DVD, or it's finally on some other system that you can watch it. Now it's like, fuck it, I'm not going to spend what is coming close to $50, $100 for like two people to go to the movies and get food and a drink when I can just stay home and wait and I'll watch it on something I've already paid for.
And I think that's why you're seeing more of a push for this particular year, because I've noticed the strategy is now we need to do things that will get people back into the theater, like what you were saying with Lilo and Stitch. Everyone under the sun that I've seen is going to go see Lilo and Stitch. Why? Because their kids might get a chance to see Stitch.
Well, and you look at things like, I don't know if you've seen, but the Final Destination is driving around with log trucks
With log trucks, yes.
that have Final Destination go see in theaters. Like,
They're doing a lot of tie-in marketing.
Well, so
Yeah.
that leads to kind of my more cynical theory in a way, is that I think you can, and I've said this before, you can only hemorrhage money for so long. And I feel like there has been shakeups and a cultural shift to where they're like, fuck these bad movie ideas that aren't working. We're not going to buy a helicopter for Madam Web. We're going to do some shit with Lilo and Stitch. Stitch is a cute animal. Kids love cute animals. Like, they're leaning back on shit that used to fucking work because, shocker, it used to work.
Okay, so let's spin it back to Nolan and The Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember how that was promoted?
It was the viral website.
Viral website,
Yeah.
a bus that went around the country voting for Harvey Dent.
Yes.
Yep.
And I think that's what the movie industry has to lean on now, because I pay money so I don't have to watch commercials. So how the fuck am I supposed to know if there's a new movie coming out unless I do what I do here? I wouldn't know what was actually coming out
Exactly.
unless you have those type of
Keep that
viral type things.
There you go.
And I think the other thing, too, is that the younger generations, and I've seen some of this from family, friends, and people who have younger kids and YouTube and social media, like, there's a new push for, like, real-world interactive old media, like dumb phones and iPhones that you consider garbage are, like, now selling for $300 because it's offline media. Like, there's a real push, in a way, for tactile, real-world interactive responses. And I think having... You can, like, look at the Minecraft popcorn thing. I'm old enough to
Yes.
not understand that in the fucking slightest. But people were going to the theater to be part of something, to be part of that real physical moment.
My daughter was scared to go to the theater because of the popcorn.
popcorn.
thing.
Like, I still don't understand what the fuck the point is. But either way, like, you can go see Maybe Stitch. There's a truck driving around. Like, it's not just a YouTube ad.
Yeah.
It's let's do stuff that people are actually going to talk about and share and be part of some experience. And that's how marketing movies kind of used to be.
It's turning into a baseball game a little bit. Like when you go to a baseball game, you get a free jersey or a free hat for the first 100 people that show up to the stadium.
Yes.
That's what the movie theaters, they've done this in the past. And in
Yeah.
a lot of ways, they're kind of pulling back, which who would have thought? Do what works.
Do it work.
That's what I'm saying.
They are going back to like 1940s, 1950s, where the cinema was all about the family experience and making it a family experience,
Yes.
offering things to the kids, offering things to the adults. And when you see the merchandise they're now putting together, and in a lot of ways, Bob, what's the name of that company that you guys... Mondo really started that
Oh, yeah.
again. Started creating these collector items that go hand in hand with the movie, and when you show up to the theater, you get your little product you pre-ordered, and you walk away, happy because you got something that's connected to a moment, a moment that's now going to be remembered.
Me and Ryan used to race out of here on Thursday nights after we were done our, DC on CW shows down to the theater and pick up our Mondo glasses to go watch whatever Marvel movie came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now the studios are doing that with those popcorn buckets.
The
Oh, yeah.
Dune sex bucket.
The Dune 6.
Now with butthole sleeve.
But that's the thing. It's like, wow, these little fucking gimmicky dumb things that used to work, shocker, still work.
Well, everybody wants to go in and feel like you're getting something. Like you said, it's an experience.
It's a part of something.
When it comes down to it. I don't want to buy a wrestling t-shirt from a website. I don't want to buy a concert t-shirt from a website. I want to pick it up at the venue that I'm at because it reminds me of every time that I put it on that I was there for it. I bought it there. Like, you can buy anything on the internet these days.
not special
It
anymore.
doesn't have the special of you going there and getting it.
Yes.
Now, when you look at this,
Well, I can't get bottled farts from the source, Bob. So I have
I
to.
will bottle
I
farts
can
from
only.
my source for you,
Thank you.
freshly plucked from my ass.
You plucked the fart.
What is it
Let's
like
not go on that. Let's just leave that.
a fucking petunia?
Some people think it is. It's definitely something.
Okay.
It's definitely mossy.
I just like that Thomas is like hasn't been in the studio with me in a while, and he's just like, "Oh, just move on."
How much time are we going to spend on this?
I could,
You can
on my butthole a half
Yeah.
hour at least.
Yeah, we need to study buttholes, Thomas. I'm sorry.
Oh, God.
So when you look at the actual releases for this summer, I don't remember the last time where they, we had the Barbie Oppenheimer like
Yeah, 2 years ago.
2 years ago that happened at the same time. If you look at the release schedules now, it's like Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible same weekend.
Yeah.
You're starting to see the
That's another thing.
the-
That kind of setup they used to do. this is for the kids, this is for everyone
Double
else.
features.
Yeah.
And have that same weekend so you'd get everyone to go to the fucking movies.
Yeah, and so I think we're going to see bigger weekends coming because they are actually stacking the movies again. So what I'm hoping for, or what I think is going to happen, is we are going to see the big jump. We might not see $6 billion films because I think we only had 2 last year.
They may not make 3 times their budget, but I do believe they will. Most of them will probably bring in at least their budget,
Yeah.
which is a loss, but that's still a success in this current climate. And if they can make at least what they put into it, then they don't need to walk away as complete losers, especially with the ancillary markets. When you're dealing with a movie like Jurassic Park, like you want that return, you want that 2.5 to 3 times return, but if you make slightly less than that, your ancillary revenue from merchandising is going to pick up the loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so when you speak on that, you look at the things that are coming out. We have our Lilo and Stitch, How to Train a Dragon, Jurassic Park, Superman. Those
Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four, all those things. Well, Marvel doesn't do a really good job.
No,
at it.
Marvel does not.
You know,
nowadays.
the Marvel Legends
fair.
figures are not based on.
Oh my God, yeah.
Actually selling to kids. But you do have those markets that I'll put Fantastic Four in there for T-shirt wise and certain things that they could sell off of it that they could possibly make, like Mike said, more of their money back with products and things like that. It is going to be an interesting summer when it comes down to it, because another thing that what I see a trend is we are leaning on the horror genre. That
coming out in the summer, which is a little odd.
Yeah, because you have your Final Destination, your 28 Days Later.
That's gonna be big.
Megan 17 or whatever.
Yeah,
age
Megan
she is now.
2.0.
I actually want to see all 3 of those.
Yeah.
Well, also Weapons. That has my interest.
I haven't even heard of that
substantially.
one.
Pitch is that at 2:17 in the morning, all the kids out of this one class walked out of their house into the night and were never seen again.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, what? The trailer's really creepy. And I'm like, okay, you have my attention.
Yeah.
As the guy who did Barbarian. I cannot remember his name, Zach something or other, from Whitest Kids You Know. But that, and we also have the final, quote, Conjuring movie coming
Conjuring
out.
movie.
It's September. It's like the first week of September.
But still, at this point,
Yeah.
summer's until they tell us it's not summer.
So, and in Arizona, it's till November.
Well,
and then like Fear Street, there's 6 or 7 different horror genre movies coming out.
Especially like coming up just recently, you have Together coming out, and that is like
that's creepy.
that movie in itself is like one of my standouts.
But
Because-
so do you think that's the strategy then? So if you have summer films being pushed with more traditional tentpole summer films, I'm wondering if these studios are looking to hedge their bets essentially. Well, here's our tentpole film that costs $400 million, and just in case we are going to release now, which is usually not done, as you guys were saying, we're going to release our horror film as well, so that it can hopefully help us recover, if not
Yeah.
make more money than our tentpole film, which I'm going to call it now. There's going to be one horror film that blows the doors off.
Oh, easily.
And it's going to make more money than one of the bigger blockbuster films that everyone thought was going to make money.
I'm telling you right now, Mike. I'm predicting it right now. 28
first
days.
prediction
is
28 days later is going
Years.
to blow the doors off
Years
of
later,
people.
yeah.
And like
that one has a lot of momentum behind it.
it has a lot of momentum, and shockingly, I didn't think it would actually have as much momentum as it has right now. When they made the announcement 28 days or 28 years later, I was surprised how many fans still remembered 28 days, because it's been a long time. And the fact that basically it's coming back and everyone's like saying, nope, we're seeing it now.
But you're also looking at the era of where the horror cons are getting just as big as some of the Comic Cons that are
easily.
out there. That they're traveling the country. That the original Scream cast showing up to Gorefest or whatever in Glendale. You know what I mean? You're getting to the fact that the studios are probably looking at that stuff. And like Michael said, how much can a horror film cost in the grand scheme of things? Because you're
pure profit. If you,
yeah.
I
You're
wonder what the most expensive horror movie is.
Oh, there is one.
there is one.
And it is considered a travesty because I don't think it made its money back.
Do you know what it is?
Yeah, I wish I was
but-
set up. I was trying to think of like a horrible movie joke there,
Yeah.
and my mind wasn't working. I was like, I could come out with something.
The
real fast.
Last Jedi.
Yeah. There you go.
That was a horror film for a lot of us.
It
Star Wars fans.
horrified me.
But an example of like what you're talking about, Bobby, is like, look at the movie that I brought up, Together. Together is such a small film, but so many people, because it actually showed in Cannes too, are so anticipating this film, and its budget is microscopic. But it's guaranteed to at least make its money back.
Okay, let's go back to Godzilla a couple years ago. That was
Yeah.
what, $17 million. Basically made in a bathtub.
10 million or so.
Yeah. Basically made in a bathtub and looked good.
Yeah, it looked good.
I think that's where we're getting the movies going, because they're like, how can look, we had a great story. You couldn't tell me that wasn't a $200 million film unless you actually knew it wasn't. And that's where these horror films are going. And they have such a cult following that you don't need to tie it to Tom Cruise with Mission Impossible, to where we got to wait till his schedule opens up. So if they want to do Megan 7 next year, they can do 2 through 6 in the next 6 months, because it's not tied to any one actor.
The problem with that, though, I don't know if I talked about it with you, Bobby, or you, Mike, but like the idea that we're going, I want them to go back to, smaller budgets, because it'll
It's the only way to
push
make money.
Well, it'll also push creatives to get creative. But like the problem that I see ultimately is like they'll never go back, because they're going to get so much pushback, because in order to get those smaller budgets, that means they're going to have to cut jobs. They're going to have to cut people out. And
They're already doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that. The Variety just posted, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago, that studios are looking to start condensing crew
Condensing.
and getting. What have we been saying since film school? Get rid of on-set waste.
yeah.
There is so much waste. You don't need crafty 24/7.
Set the table up and leave.
But also coming off
Vending machines.
coming off the strike right now,
How about get your own
not,
food?
They're not going to want to
You're a
battle.
terrible person to work for.
That's true.
Dude, what job gives you free food? Why should the movie business do what no other employer does?
Because you have to be there for 12 fucking hours.
Well, if you're there for 24 hours, I'll give you a continental breakfast.
We'll give you
Thanks, Days In.
It's got the pancake batter and the hot thing.
No, here, we'll give you
Making
a,
waffles.
a double cheeseburger. There you go.
to share amongst 5 people.
Del Taco was our specialty.
Del Taco, yes.
On our film
And
sets.
people were happy.
Yeah.
See right there, it doesn't take a lot. It just takes food.
So just to go back to what you were saying, Dave, that is, I think, an astute observation, because that is what they're going to be doing.
Yeah.
They're going to have to start cutting the crews down, because we've all worked on film sets.
Oh, yeah.
And we know that that 4 or 5 capable people can do what 15 are doing.
Yeah. But the thing is, my flip side to that, and this is the reason why I think they won't be able to go to smaller budgets, is because they're going to get so much, fight back
The unions.
from the unions.
The unions will push
Because the
a bit.
unions are going to look at them and go, "What? You're going to cut our members out?"
See, I would say the smaller budget will push, the unions will push the smaller budget.
Really?
Here's
I
my,
think
here's,
it'd be the
here's my
opposite.
logic. If
more consistent work.
you need to, that's the thing, is like, if you only have a budget that's huge, the union's going to say you have to hire so many people and they all have to be a part of this and you have to add all this other shit. But if you can say it's a micro budget, it's a limited budget, it's some new tax evasion plan version of a movie that dances around the issue and is only allowed to have a budget of X or below Y, they're going to come up with a creative way. If there's a creative way for a business person to spend less and pay people less, they're going to come up with it.
Yeah.
Especially if the potential for return of investment is huge. Whereas if you stick to what they currently are doing, you have to pay $500 million to still not make money.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, so when it comes down to it, are we now digging too deep into the hole to try to do the member berries? With Spinal Tap 2, The Toxic Avenger.
God.
Like,
Yes.
we are dealing with stuff that was...
okay, Spinal Tap 2 to me is not a members berries, because how many people
Oh,
really
that-
truly remembered that? that became meme from the internet. That's the only reason, because people know ours goes to 11. The fact that this is coming out at all is fucking amazing.
I'm not saying it, but at what but would you consider Toxic Avenger a summer movie?
I don't know enough about the IP to have
The
a
IP, it used to show on
statement.
Skinamax at 1 a.m.
And it was created by Troma. Film.
So Spinal Tap and the Toxic Crusaders, Avengers is more from our generation.
Yeah.
And I think Avengers I want to see at this point.
And to me, I do feel like there's member barriers there because it was very, it's a huge cult following. And
it is.
Even if you're not a part of the cult following, a lot of people, I remember working at the video store when I was a kid, and that thing just was rented all the time.
Oh, yeah. Because that's the thing, is kind of like those movies itself. And yeah, you could make the argument, Bobby, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Naked Gun, Freakier Friday.
The Naked Gun I'm looking for.
The Freakier,
I'm not saying
Freakier
it's,
Friday.
It's just when you think of summer movies,
right.
And again, like I said earlier when we started, this is the IP summer, whether we like it or not, because we are now naming things. Naked Gun 33 and the third. OJ wasn't a killer at that point and still alive.
But the thing, what I like about this, though,
Anna
is
Nicole Smith was alive and had a wiener.
Oh, that's right.
there's
That was still hot.
there's a lot of IP sequels in this, yes, and some reboots. But at the same time, we are getting some more interesting, or at least less milked to death concepts. Like, Weapons is one that I called out before. Nobody 2, it is a sequel, but that is at least, something slightly
one
different.
of those movies that it's probably due a bigger release based on the fact that it got way more popular.
Yes.
It got huge after the fact, yeah. There's
Formula One or F1 with
F1.
Brad Pitt.
To be honest with you, I think what they're doing is being smart because the Netflix show is so freaking popular that you have my sister and my niece are now F1 fans because of a Netflix show. And before, those movies were only made for Ryan.
So, Bob. Okay, so Bob, what I think. Okay, so what you're getting at with all these, so we have the expected tentpole films like, say, Superman, Jurassic Park,
Ballerina.
But then Ballerina,
that is going to make a fuckload of money.
But it's not that your typical tentpole summer film. But it seems with all of these random films, it's true counter programming that typically the studios would have no faith or confidence in doing, but because they're losing at every turn anyways, they're literally throwing paper at the wall, hoping it sticks. And I think that's a good strategy as long as those budgets are being kept in line and they can make some return. They're trying to rediscover what works. That's what they're trying to do. If you look at this entire list of films.
Also, what they're doing is that if you throw Freakier Friday at the wall, it makes $25-30 million there. You're also building your online catalog when it's time, and you're not giving it away for free for $9.95 a month because it's already made half of its budget back in the original release.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're getting is that you're going to get these IPs that are out there. And like Novocaine just came out on Paramount Plus. It went through the movie theater. It made its money. Now, guess what? Paramount has another movie that they can say that was just in theaters. And I think that's what you're going to get with this is that some of these smaller movies, we're going to throw it. We're going to give it a release because we know how movie theaters go. It's in and out. You never see the 6-week run anymore. So they're going to get their 3 or 4 weeks until they're replaced by another film. And then 4 weeks later, they're going to show up on some streaming service and they're going to get another jump when it comes down to it. So they are trying to make their money before they put it on the discount or the free rack.
Yeah. Well, they gotta shore it up. That's the only way to save the film market currently. You got it. There. I actually like what I'm seeing. There's a fucking strategy for the first time in a very long time with these releases.
Than last year.
Last year was pain.
Yeah, but what you're seeing is a strategy, and you're also seeing that they're not trying to say like everybody has to go see this.
Yeah.
Because if you wait a week, there might be something for you, Thomas. There's nothing for you this week. Guess what, David? It could be your week to go watch it.
Yeah, exactly.
Personally, I'm going to be living at the theater this
I was
summer.
gonna say there's
some
something every
good
week.
Well, guess
stuff
what?
like-
Movie Pass is back, and AMC does the $20 thing
There you
too.
go.
So you can definitely get in and see those movies because you're right. There is something that is going to get most of us in the theater at least weekly or a couple times a week when it comes down to it.
Do you have a list of all the movies?
I have a list
Yes,
here.
it is a shit ton.
Okay,
Can
so
we go
today's the
through them real fast?
15th. So I'll just hit the big names. This is
Okay.
not everything.
Yeah, because it is like
Because there's too many.
I've sat here and scrolled to September,
Yeah.
and to pull some of these things. So there's a lot out there.
So on the 23rd, so next Friday, we have Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning,
Yeah.
Lilo and Stitch. Then we have. That's kind of the end for May. Weird. Karate Kid Legends. I didn't even know it was a thing.
Yeah, but
Oh, yeah.
but Karate Kid
But
Legends,
it'll probably do
you're
all
gonna
right.
go off of the Netflix stuff. That since just
Exactly.
ended.
That's
With
that's
Cobra
big
Kai.
because it's tied into that.
They promoted it. It's going to be one of those things that people are going to go watch.
right.
You have Wes Anderson's film that comes out May 30th, I believe. The
Oh, yeah, the
Phoenician.
Phoenician
Is that his
Scheme.
name?
Yeah.
That looks really interesting, actually. The
That
Phoenician
always is a
Scheme.
Wes Anderson.
Then we have From the World of John Wick, Ballerina, Predator, Killer of Killers. Life of Chuck I only bring up because Mike Flanagan's directing it, and it's a Stephen King novella. So that could actually be good with Tom Hiddleston and Chiwetel Ejiofor. Could be really good.
Yeah.
See here, How to Train Your Dragon, 28 years later. Let's see here, F1, Megan 2.0, Jurassic World Rebirth, Superman, Smurfs, I Know What You Did Last Summer again, I guess. Fantastic Four, Happy Gilmore 2, The Naked Gun, Freakier Friday, Weapons, Nobody 2. Let's see here.
I love it.
And we're only like at the end of
The
July.
Toxic
at this point.
Avengers,
I fucking love
Conjuring
it.
Last Rites, Spinal Tap 2. Yeah, those are the big ones, and that's until the end of September.
And that's more movies in that title than I've been excited about in
like
so
2
long.
years.
Because I forgot what it might have been the Marvel show we did about Deadpool and Wolverine.
Final Destination comes out fucking tomorrow.
Yeah. I have only seen one movie in the theater that hasn't been assigned to me from this network that I've paid my
Which
own
one
money.
is that?
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh, really?
That was the only movie I've seen in who knows how long that I haven't been Mike calling me up going, need you to cover this.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's been nothing to drive me to the theater.
It is a stacked summer.
Yeah.
And if you're a
And-
horror fan, there's a lot more little ones in
Oh
that
my
mix
God,
too.
yes.
Yeah. And that's what we're looking at when it comes down to it. Now, we also have some franchise making or franchise ending. Not ending. I'm not going to say ending.
Crippling.
Crippling things that are coming out. Thunderbolts came out from Marvel.
Yes.
We're on our peak. But what happens, David? After we peak, we fucking shit.
It's time
That's
to
how
go
Marvel has been.
down that roller coaster.
Do we think Thunderbolts is the peak, or do you think Fantastic Four can pull it off?
That's what I want to get from you guys at this point because
Whoa.
we are a nerd network.
Yes.
So I want to focus on that right now. What is Fantastic Four going to do to us? Because to be honest, and I haven't said this on air, I've only said it to Mike, I'm basically looking at live action Jetsons when I look at a lot of the visuals of Fantastic Four at
You're
this
not
point.
And see, the
wrong.
problem is, Bobby, you know me, I'm biased because I've always said Fantastic Four is my favorite
Yeah.
team.
Really?
Yeah, it's always been my favorite team because, like, to
That's like
me,
that's like the vanilla answer to me.
well,
It's like the most popular, but I've never seen anyone pick it.
the reason why, honestly, the Fantastic Four is my favorite is because of Jonathan Hickman's run, because he focused on basically the Fantastic Four is they lived by the moniker. They are the first family of Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
They're not a team. They're not the X-Men. They're not the Avengers. They're not individual people. The thing that I loved about the Fantastic Four was they turned them into a family.
Okay.
And that brought out more drama, brought out more characterization to those characters than any of the other characters in any of the Marvel database, in my opinion.
So are your hopes high, or are you worried, or where are we at right now?
As a
Because
fan?
this is our last movie until we get to
Doomsday.
whatever Iron Doom is.
Now, here's the problem.
Iron
As
Doom.
much as love I have for the Fantastic Four, my faith in Marvel has been shattered. Thunderbolts helped. Thunderbolts helped me. But like the problem with
always can find a
I'm
shiny
looking-
penny somewhere.
Yeah. The thing I'm looking at the Fantastic Four, I'm like going, okay, number one, yeah, you're throwing everything at us for Fantastic. You're giving us Doom, you're giving us Galactus, you're giving us Silver Surfer.
That doesn't
Is Doom
scare you.
Doom's not in Fantastic
He's
Four.
Oh no,
gone.
he is.
He's not.
He's
but
the
he
number
has
one
I
villain.
thought they said he's not in it.
But he
I thought
has
they
to be
literally-
some connection.
There's going to be some connection. Everyone knows that basically.
Yeah, but he's
That's
not going to be a
like-
major. If he's
not
going
going to be a
Look,
major.
I'm
but
just gonna
he'll
say
see.
this is it's gonna have an Empire ending. It's gonna
Yeah.
end on some kind of shit ending where most
Especially-
of the people are gonna be upset that they got fucked. Up.
Especially
if you
since-
watch the post-credit sequence for Thunderbolts, then you'll know that Bob's probably right.
He's
Yes.
absolutely right.
And
I
but the
haven't
thing
seen
is like
Thunderbolts, so there I am.
I
again
haven't
being
either,
right.
but I know
maybe
you're right.
it's because the jaded mind of mine. I look at Marvel's strategies usually, and I see, hey, Fantastic Four's coming out. What's the next one? Oh, it's Doomsday. Doomsday comes out the next one.
Okay.
So I'm almost expecting to see Doctor Doom, and he's probably not going to play a big role, but you'll see him.
Okay.
You'll
Do you
be
have
illusions
faith
to
in the
him.
movie?
Do you have? Will it make money, and will
Senator,
you like it?
please answer the question.
Yeah, I don't know
After
what you're
seeing
doing.
Thunderbolts-
you can't fucking talk circles around me, bud.
I am going to say I have a little modicum of faith. Little modicum.
Okay.
I'm about 50% okay with Fantastic
50%
Four.
okay. That's
Yeah.
a huge Rotten Tomato score.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
50%.
What about you, Thomas?
I'm okay or okay.
I'm
What would you say, Dave?
I'm not a firefighter, but where there's smoke, there's fire. And I look at Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four is Marvel has been suffering from dysentery for years now, just hemorrhaging diarrhea to the point where I'm like, good God, how is it still alive?
Projectile diarrhea.
And it should be dehydrated,
Keeps 'em
and
skinny.
like organs are falling out now, and I don't know that it can be
Prolapse
saved.
asshole.
Exactly. And what I look at when I
Corn
see
from a decade
Fantastic
ago.
Four is I see two, not smokes, two absolute infernos when it comes to the history of filmmaking. One, the director, other than TV, has done one movie over a decade ago. This is the only other film. And the last movies or the TV stuff he had done when it came to Marvel was WandaVision, which I don't have a lot of faith in or like of. And he also was involved with Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, which is like, but the absolute towering blaze is the fact that this film has not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but 6 credited writers.
I'm uncredited. I don't know if you know that.
That is a Frankenstein monster if I have ever heard of one, lumbering down the street.
Hire somebody else. We need new rewrites.
And like the Frankenstein monster, I believe it is technically going to be dead on arrival.
Okay.
I don't think that Fantastic Four is the IP strength to do what Marvel needs right now. And if this was written by a great writer or directed by a great director, or God forbid both, maybe I'd have some faith in it. What I'm seeing right now, I think it's dead, Jim.
All right, Michael.
I think the movie will do just fine at the theater. I have a feeling it won't be rated great by critics, but I do feel like the movie will do decent box office numbers only because
Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr.'s connection.
Well, also Pedro Pascal has somehow managed to be the sweetheart of America.
Yeah,
There's always
well,
that big
it
actor for
depends on
like
what,
a 5 to 10 year window.
It
and-
depends on what algorithm you're stuck
Oh,
on,
well,
because all I see is hate.
Okay.
And I'm glad. I'm okay with that algorithm. I don't like Pedro Pascal. I think he's an overrated actor who got famous for reasons that I don't understand. He was
Game of
a
Thrones.
random character in Game of Thrones, and that's pretty much all he did. And then suddenly he's in Mandalorian. Not really, though. It's basically James Earl Jones syndrome. He's not really
Exactly.
the Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian.
But let's say he is. I just don't understand his rise. There are so many.
You know
What's
what it
a
is?
Nubian?
He is the epitome, I think, of what Hollywood and the internet kind of have claimed to want out of a male figure. Kind of beta, non-threatening,
Socially anxious, awkward.
not going to threaten any women, not going to do anything too masculine and
we've
toxic.
always had that in Keanu Reeves.
Until he became John Wick.
Until he became
But he's still
And his-
Captain
and his
Hoverhands on
dick
the
grew 14 sizes that day.
till he's still Captain Hoverhands on the internet.
See, but he's just seen as respectful now.
Yeah.
He's seen as a respectful badass,
Okay.
which is like the best 6 boxcars he could have rolled. for
Keanu
that.
Reeves was always considered a heartthrob.
Yeah,
Whereas-
Pedro Pascal is a fine actor, but he's not a great actor. And I think a milk toast version of a male hero is what is expected and given credit these days.
I buy that. Okay.
And he embodies that.
Yeah.
For better or worse.
I also think that his politics has gotten in the way of a lot of things, and I think that's going to affect the box office return.
I
We're
am
in an
worried
era
about
where everyone thinks everything's woke, and Pedro Pascal is the woke king right now. He just is. Like I'm not calling him that because I hate the word woke. That's what the internet on my algorithm I'm stuck on is calling him.
Mm-hmm.
So because there's such a large anti-woke mob, I don't know if this movie will make that money or make the money they need to. So for me, it's almost like an asterisk or a question mark. I really don't
New
know.
Avengers. Sorry, he said asterisk in
Yeah.
Marvel.
It's
Okay.
What about you, Bob?
Look, I have no faith in Marvel at this point. The fact of the matter is, I just got done covering Daredevil with Steve, and to watch the roller coaster ride of what they thought was going to be good and what they weren't, and the fact that I could tell what rewrite, like the story was there, but you could just tell
See the rewrite
where
scenes.
everybody had their fingers.
Yeah.
it
in
was a
them.
roller coaster.
And
Yeah,
you're
that's
just
the
like,
best
oh,
way to
this is
put it.
good. This makes sense. What the fuck is this? Oh, this is good. This makes sense. What the fuck is this? And that's what I get out of Marvel at this point is they're trying to be everything to everybody all at once. You
Yes.
can't do that. You placate to your nerds and everybody else will come around because the question that's going to happen is like people are going to be like, Bob, is this real? Like, is this from the comics? And then I'm going to go, no. Because that's what, and if you want, unfortunately, the 25 to 40-year-old white vote to go in there and do your movies. And I think comic book movies have gotten away from that. It's like you're getting away from your core audience
It's that trying to capture this fictional modern audience
Yeah.
that is not paying to go see the movies.
Because we need somebody in the movie to go for this group of people and this group of people, and then
and
we have
people know
the
when they're
CW.
being pandered
Yes.
to.
Oh yeah, see, we talked about that, didn't we, Bob?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought you have. That these movies nowadays are. It's like a consensus. It's like with a checklist, I should say. Like,
Yeah.
okay, well, we have this group here covered. We have this group here covered. And you're never going to be able to make a movie successful by stitching together demographics, hypothetical demographics.
Yes.
You have to pick your lane and go with that.
And
Like, yes, summer movies have always tried to. This is what summer movies have historically attempted to do. And they've done it well. They typically make family-friendly movies that appeal to the parents and the kids. That's always been the formula, and that worked. And Marvel, largely over the course of the last 15 years, has fallen into that category.
Well,
But are people tired? Are the parents tired of taking their kid to
I
Marvel?
would say they used to fall in that category,
yeah.
and now they fall into a checkbox list category.
That's
And
my
if-
point.
If you have all these little tiny buckets that you try to need to fill, you're not going to be able to fill a goddamn thing. It's just going to make a mess everywhere.
Yeah, because I know, Bob, you brought that up recently, and I've been meaning to get back to that because that is an interesting thought because I've never really looked at the recent movie trends
Yep.
in that way. And that absolutely is the case. That is what they're doing.
you got to look at somebody. Let's look at like F. Gary Gray, the guy, Italian Job,
Yeah.
Friday, all that other stuff. You never looked at a Friday. I never looked at Friday growing up being like, why ain't there no white people in Compton? I didn't give a shit. It was a good movie.
It was a good movie,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
They didn't have to placate to 15-year-old white Bobby D that doesn't really give a shit. Like, I
Bob,
just want a
there's no
funny
white
movie.
people in Compton because it's called white flight. They all left when the black people moved
Do they
in.
have cheap flights?
So stupid.
It's a
Like, do you have
plus.
to pay for my bags? But I think that's where we're losing the thing. It's you play to the audience that's going to be there, because if it's real, it doesn't matter who you are, bi, straight, trans, white, black, brown, purple, green. Stories transcend.
Well, and I think it's kind of
Absolutely.
like we talked about this in our other show. It's like this like postmodernism that we've been entrenched, stapled, glued, and riveted to for years, and it's almost like people are we've gone so fractal of breaking down established tropes that it's gotten to the point that unless you're like a one-legged Taiwanese trans religious veteran,
With one nipple.
you're not going to be able to connect with this movie. It's like, who the fuck is going to see?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
maybe these people exist, but there's not enough of them to make all the money that you need to make for a movie.
Yeah.
And I think as they try to make more, if you shift and pivot to more of a universal story, like you were saying, where everyone can laugh, everyone can enjoy this, everyone can get behind a hero, whatever it is, everyone can understand a romantic drama or a family drama, regardless of what your family actually fucking looks like.
Well, yeah, nobody looked at Boomerang as a movie and said there's no white people in it.
Yeah.
It was Eddie Murphy in corporate America. There was not one white person in the whole fucking movie. Nobody gave a shit because it was a movie, based for people with a good story that people got behind.
Everything
Yeah.
everywhere all at once is a multi-dimensional god level omnipotent daughter and her mother who's jumping through realities. No, it's a family story about relationships between parents and children, and people got behind that because people can relate to that regardless of who you are.
Now, when it comes to storytelling, I want to shift to our next kind of big venture for James Gunn, who has been the person that
Oof.
has probably told some of the best stories when it comes to Marvel, because I don't know how he magically gained his freedom, after they tried to fire him, and he got the backing of everybody in Hollywood, and he turned that into now controlling DC. His first film that is coming out is going to be Superman. Now, this is one of those ones that, for me, I'm not a Superman person. Gladly said that for almost a fucking decade on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
That is not my thing, not anything I run to, I want to
Right.
see. Have I watched them all? Yes. Is it my favorite? No. I like the fact that James Gunn is doing this, and I believe in James Gunn. That I haven't seen him fail with these type of stories where he isn't worried about so many different things or trying to pull it. He's trying to world build and do all these things. Now, people are saying that this could be the end of DC. It could be the start of DC. What are you going to get out of this? I'm going to start with Michael on this one, because I know he has a lot to say about what are you looking forward to when it comes to Superman. Do you believe in James Gunn? Because, again, he's pulling a bunch of actors and actresses that aren't big names, just like he did with Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
And what are we getting? What do you think we're going to get out of this?
Do you believe a man can fly, Mike?
Oh. Gee, I need a minute now. I'm cautiously optimistic. The only reason why I'm cautious is because this is not typically, in terms of content, within James Gunn's wheelhouse. Meaning the material itself, what makes Superman Superman. He usually deals with far darker themes, crude humor, things of that nature.
Okay.
But if he can set that aside and work in another field, another genre, if you will, different themes, I mean, he's a capable director. I don't think he can't make that switch. He has a track record. The man is the most consistent tentpole director. And when I say tentpole, I'm not talking about the true the
Actual
true
definition.
Yeah, I'm not thinking of like Steven Spielberg. I'm removing those guys out of the equation.
He's the modern day tentpole director.
Yes, he is the go-to modern day tentpole director, and he's very consistent. If you look at the other directors that have helmed Marvel films or superhero films, incredibly inconsistent. They'll have one great movie and then one that's and then a great movie, and then there's one that's And a lot of that might have to do, again, with authorship. Is Disney sticking their dick into certain films and not into others? And that could very much be the case, because James Gunn is an auteur. He also has the intensity, the passion, the self-respect and dignity to demand his vision, whereas a lot of directors nowadays are very passive. They don't have that type of clout to even try not to be passive. So he does have more control. Not complete control, but he does have more control. Now, when it comes to DC, he has 100% control.
Okay, Mike, you talked about him being more of the crude side of the house. You know, more of probably leaning towards Rain Man Digital attitude. What is Star-Lord if he was raised differently and, grown up and could fly?
Oh. You think he might be Superman?
Talking about a half god that came to Earth.
And he did handle his story well.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, that's a good piece of evidence there.
I'm just saying, it just popped in my head. I wasn't.
That is an interesting thought.
Well,
because you look at the character.
He's
of
naive. He's a bit naive.
mm-hmm.
Superman is naive. Yeah, okay. That gives me a little more hope. I have faith in his abilities. I just don't know if I have faith in DC. If they allowed James Gunn, meaning Warner Brothers, if they allowed James Gunn to really have control of this movie, like he keeps saying, and like Warner Brothers keeps also saying, then I think the movie will be fine.
Okay. David?
I actually have a lot of more faith nowadays with Superman than I did with Fantastic Four, because me and Thomas talked about that a while ago, and I was on the side of basically, Fantastic Four is going to probably do better. But nowadays, especially since of how everything has been handled on James Gunn's side, I honestly think Superman's going to do very well. All because I do believe that Warner Brothers at this point has looked at James Gunn and said, we're hands off. Because at this point, Gunn has built a reputation to this point that you have to follow him. Because just like what you alluded to earlier, if you look at James Gunn's resume, there isn't a movie where you go, what was that?
Scooby-Doo 2.
But honestly, if you just sat back and watched it, it is a popular film for their fan base. And it did well.
How long ago was Scooby-Doo 2?
20 years, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 20 years ago. But like, you go through...
You're judging my 2-year-old based on her... or my 12-year-old on her 2-year-old drawings.
Shit.
Yeah, exactly.
What is this color theory?
But you go through his resume, and it's kind of like, okay, we can actually believe that James Gunn can be the Kevin Feige that was for Marvel. And especially since with his first installment, which was really small, but it almost was like a test to see if he can do it, was Creature Commandos. Creature Commandos won me over. And then I started thinking about Peacemaker. That's actually a pretty good show. I like how he's
consistent, like I was saying.
He's consistent.
But David, keep in mind, those are very different properties, IPs.
Here's the thing that now, and this was brought up in one of the articles.
Don't forget the Suicide Squad.
And Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, this movie, Superman, is actually perfect for the world that he is building. Because we all know what, as fans, Superman is supposed to embody. Right, Mike?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was an interesting article that I read from Gunn who basically said that's what's going to be really special about this film. His world is filled with these broken characters. But here comes this one character everyone understands, embodies the modicum of truth, justice,
Hope.
and hope. That's what's going to make this movie shine the most, because they're focusing on the fact that, yeah, Superman is different from everybody else, but that's the whole point.
So you have faith in it then?
And when I heard that, I'm like going, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
That makes sense. What now that got me more excited to see, okay, this is why David Cornsweet looks really like a nerd in a lot of the stills, because like, yeah, just like what you mentioned earlier, Mike, Superman's naive. He's supposed to embody that naivete. And yeah, it comes out more in Gunn's DC universe, because he has characters like Peacemaker and Harley Quinn and all these characters that are broken, that are heroes, but they're broken. And now here comes this embodiment of like what a hero should be comes in.
Okay. So you're faith.
I have faith in it.
Okay, Thomas, burn it down. Let's go.
So I will say, I think the movie will be well received and well made. I think James Gunn has the track record.
How many
my God.
writers?
Let me check, actually. Good question.
I
Just
mean,
one, just one, just him.
Just weird, huh?
Yeah. He has a good track record. What Superman needs, in my opinion, I've never been a Superman fan either, but what I think it needs to be
How dare
successful is sincerity.
Yeah.
It actually needs to believe that someone could be this good of a person. It actually needs to believe in the truth, the justice, the American way, being the Boy Scout, that kind of thing. If you don't honestly believe that as you make this movie or a Superman product, I don't think it's going to work. My concern comes in with financials.
Okay.
I think DC has had such a disastrous train wreck of their extended universe of the last few years that people have kind of written off. And I don't think that Fury of the Gods, The Flash helped, Blue Beetle helped these mindset. The thing they have going for them is that Marvel has been can't do any worse at this point.
Just so you know, I'm not legally allowed to talk about Blue Beetle on the air. It's no longer offend Mexicans.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. But it's one of those where I think it'll probably do well, or it'll be well made, and people will be like, yeah, it's a good Superman film. But I don't know if it'll bring in the financial money that it needs to for DC or Warner Brothers, more accurately, Warner Brothers, to justify putting more of this stuff forward. Warner Brothers has cut and run on every shift of the wind when it's come to their projects, and especially when it comes to DC. They're going to change this. We're going to can this. Fuck, now Aquaman did good. I guess we'll go back. Oh, God, we ruined it with Wonder Woman. It's all over the fucking map. Unless Superman brings in like $2-3 billion Avatar Way of Water money to where the idiots at the top can say, okay, I guess we'll continue this path. That's where my concern lies. I think it has to make not just a shitload of money, it has to make a fuckload of money for the people who have been constantly shifting train tracks and killing all the villagers in the way to not fuck it up.
Okay.
I think it'll be well made. I think it will 100% depend on word on mouth really spreading and a lot of praise for it. But I think unless those numbers are blindingly good, Warner Brothers will still somehow put their dick in it.
Yeah. In the trailer that was released, yesterday? Was it yesterday? The year before yesterday? I think that told a lot of the story. I think when you see quote-unquote Superman getting interviewed by Lois, and you see that dynamic there of the way he acted, the way he believed, like, I am doing right. Why are you treating like this? And she's like, I'm interviewing Superman, not Clark. You're like, holy shit, we're getting like a human like story there of like, I know this secret. How do I handle it? You're getting, I think, like a different side of Superman when it comes down to it. And if that's one of like the main storylines, that's something that, whether we want to acknowledge it or not, is probably stole from the Snyderverse, because we saw him start the war in Man of Steel and get arrested and like, hey, I'm only here to help you. but it's not the hard ass Henry Cavill side of it. It is this
That's
new
the
Superman
difference, yeah.
that is more naive and just like, I'm just trying to do good.
A sincere person.
Yeah.
I think that's what this movie does have over the Snyder film, is that you had Henry Cavill's Superman that was it was more of an existential
White
take,
Rock.
you know, and whether or
Don't
not
hate. He's so much better than the
what's
Rock.
what I'm looking for. He's
He
Stoic.
looked the part.
well, the themes that was used for that movie was more or less about whether or not we can trust a god. You know,
Right.
can we trust this person, this alien, this being? Are they all good, and can they be all good when they're all powerful? Whereas with James Gunn's take, based on the trailer, it looks more like they're delving into a very popular topic, which could either be really good or really bad. And it's the idea of which has been going around on the internet, Dave. We've talked about this. The question of whether or not Superman's doing enough.
Yes.
Should Superman actually get involved in real world geopolitics?
Yeah.
That looks like what that, to me, based on the trailer, seems to be what James Gunn is working through. And if that's the case, that has the ability to be not only a really good Superman film, but an interesting political commentary as well.
And what was
Yeah.
the basis of Guardians 3?
Yeah.
Animal cruelty.
Animal cruelty.
Yeah.
And
I
so
love
you're
that movie.
dealing with real, like you said, if he can hit real world type problems
Yeah,
in a
exactly.
superhero genre, it's going to
Yeah.
get the kids excited because they get to go see Superman and Green Lantern and everybody goes smash shit.
Yeah.
And then it's going to make people like us that want to see the story behind it and understand and be like, oh man, that's some deep shit. Get behind it too.
Yeah.
And so I think they're covering their bases when it comes down to it. Now, I have hope for this summer. I think there is way too much out there for the chances. We're going to have one or two fucking just
Duds.
pieces of shit. But the fact is, I think we're going to see a lot of stuff that will surprise us, that we probably going to go in with low expectations. Some of
Naked
this stuff
Gun.
we might come back a year from now and be like, damn, I probably should have saw that in the theater, you know, when it comes down to it. But we are getting what I feel like is our first full movie, summer of movies that we haven't
In a long
had
time.
in a long time.
At least 5 or 6 years, at least.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, look, Lee loves me, our wonderful PR person for the movies.
Mm-hmm.
First movie after COVID, me and Ryan went and saw was fucking Fast and the Furious. Walked out of the theater. She says, Bobby, what do you think? Go, I think we need another fucking outbreak of COVID. And she just laughed at me. Wrote it down. And she's like,
She turned that into the studio.
she turned it into the studio.
Nice.
Like, but I don't have that feeling. Like, if we go to some of these movies, we're going to come out of it going, what the fuck did I just see? But legitimately, that was a summer ago or 2 summers ago. And it's not like last summer was any better.
Ugh.
When it came down
God.
to it, I legitimately, and that is no lie to the listeners, my quote was, I wish for another outbreak of COVID. Somebody gave a 5-year-old with a bunch of fucking cars and created a movie. You know, and that's what I don't want. I love movies. I watch so much TV and movies, like it's ridiculous. It's embarrassing, and I need new shit to watch.
It's not
So
embarrassing.
I need the summer to
Bob.
be good. What's that?
It's not embarrassing,
Oh,
Bob.
come on.
I do the same thing. I watch.
It's
40
almost certainly
You
unhealthy.
you
I
listen
watch
to me
40
yell about
movies a month. It's okay.
you listen to me yell about 911 and how they turned the only straight white character gay, so they had all the bases covered. Like nobody gets that invested into.
That's actually when we were talking about that, right? Yeah, we were talking about how these studios are throwing in like a checklist of things. Yeah.
Yes. So like, yeah, I'm way too vested in things like Vanderpump Rules and The Valley. Like, it's embarrassing. But the fact is, like, I love this stuff and I want it to do good. I don't want to sit there and be disappointed or have to turn off stuff. There's been a lot of stuff to turn off.
Well, that's the thing. Like, people don't get, especially I feel like with me sometimes, it's like the line between passion of love and hate is like fucking razor thin. And I get so mad at stuff because I see so much of what it could have been with just a
potential,
few
yeah.
tweaks. because I love movies and I love storytelling and I love all of this stuff. And so when they fuck it up, I'm like, God damn it! And I start yelling at people, and that's why I got on the podcast.
Well, yes, and
It started with chicken nuggets and,
Dude,
and
it
ended
did.
with postmodernism.
yeah, and it's one of those things. I hate the fact that when I watch something, I text Mike. I'm like, "Can you watch this for me? Because I'm not sure if it's good." You know, and I don't think we're going to get that in this summer. And that's why I wanted to have this show. And, you know, maybe we'll wrap it up at the end of the summer and just kind of go through what our favorites were for this summer. Because we just listed,
They can't all suck.
They
right?
can't all suck.
Exactly.
There's too many.
Out of 25 of them, if 5 of them hit, we'll probably be happy at this point. Because there is a shit ton coming out, and we'll look forward to covering it. That'll do it for today's Critique Revolve summer movie preview. Remember, however you found us, rate, review, subscribe, and we will talk to you later.
Give me all them chicken nuggets.
Oh God.